Welcome to the Nest postgame show here from the MVP Arena after the Albany Firebirds made it to 10-0 after a massive 98-12 win here at the MVP Arena. I'm Adam Samarov with my co-host all the way to my left, Chris Epperly, and in the middle, one of the newest members of the Albany Firebirds, defensive back Kyle Chandler. Kyle, congratulations on the win. Talk about being a part of this defense now and, being able to hold the Wolfpack to, only 12 points.
Man, it's definitely a blessing to get this opportunity and to be able to come in and put that game together right before the playoffs start,
Yeah, it's big.
It was just a blessing to be able to come in at this point in the season and do my 1/8, Feels good to be here.
Part of it, we talk about the defense, but also special teams, recovering a fumble for a touchdown on a kick, Excuse me. Tell me about, getting special teams reps and that play. Take me through that play.
Gotcha. Yeah, special teams is important on any level of football, but especially in the arena. So, you on kickoff, you got to sprint down every time because you never know. We got Henry Nail. He hits a lot of deuces, but he also hits a lot of bar balls. So I told him yesterday, I say, Henry, hit a bar ball for me, man, so I can get a touchdown. It ended up happening. That was my first touchdown.
Mission accomplished.
Mission accomplished. You just got to hustle down, and you never know what's going to happen.
So that was his first touchdown in arena football?
In arena.
Yeah.
My first one.
So what is that like? I mean, being a part of this game, obviously it's different than the outdoor game. What is that like to be able to, score your first touchdown in arena play?
Scoring a touchdown is always special, And then,
I'm gonna stop you really quick. Get right up to the microphone. I don't want to miss a word.
My bad.
You're good.
So scoring a touchdown is always special, but to get that in my first game as an Albany Firebird, man, it's just like it was like a welcome to Albany type of play, So
yeah,
just hustle down, and you never know what's gonna happen. So that's what I was thinking. Sprint down, maybe that ball will bounce right to me, and that's exactly what happened.
Just because you're like I said, new to the program here, but you said you were playing for Salina this year, so obviously you were able to watch Albany from afar. Talk about coming from Salina and now signing with the Firebirds. Kind of take me a little bit through kind of how that worked, talking to Coach Ware and getting involved to come up here to Albany.
Yeah, so I was at Salina for 7 games, and it just kind of like the rotation. I kind of got out of the rotation,
Mm-hmm.
like Coach wanted to go with other guys, and I just kind of saw the writing on the wall. So respectfully, I asked for my release, and then from there, hit the transaction, and then just made it happen like that. Talked to the coaches here, and then made it happen. That's really how it went down.
How long did it take to land in Albany? Was it a couple days, a week?
I got out here last Monday. I got out here as soon as I could, As soon as I talked to him and was able to get, in communication with him. And then I got out here and got everything rolling last Monday.
And talk about, going into practice. And because now it's a matter of like, hey, I got to meet some new guys. I mean, maybe you knew a couple of guys just from back and forth. But, talk about getting into practice and just getting to know your new teammates and how that was.
So for the most part, I played against Albany twice this year. And
right.
I've been playing against Albany since 2019. I actually was with the Philadelphia Soul.
Okay.
When they was the Albany Empire. So I've been coming to Albany.
For years.
In the Arena Bowl in 2019. So
okay.
I've been coming to Albany, been familiar with the coaches, players.
Mm-hmm.
So I played against those guys this year twice already, and
right.
I played with some of those guys in the past. So, and then it is a lot of other guys that I was just meeting. But it's like you come in, you do your job, you do your part, and you add value to the team. And if you do that, then you fit right in.
Was it easy in terms of like just, hey, I'm going to take my athletic talent and like get into it? You were able to get into it right away. If somebody had no idea that you were new, to the squad, it'd be like, oh, he's been here all year. Like he fits right into what Coach Cisse, Coach Hobbs, and the whole defensive side wants to do.
Yeah, so, I'm a vet. I've been playing for a while, and when it comes to the arena, like the coverages and the schemes, it's pretty much all the same. It's just different terminology. And then you got different techniques that different coaches want, So it's like I come in and I just adapt and I do what I got to do to the best of my ability.
Oh, you definitely did that tonight, helping the Firebirds to a 98-12 win. So you definitely did that. Talk about playing for Coach Hobbs. I mean, we interviewed him and Coach Cisse a few weeks ago, and he still looks like put the jersey on him. He's just a physical specimen. It's insane. Talk about playing for Coach Hobbs and Coach Cisse, and bringing that into from what you've done in the past and different places you've been and working with those guys now?
So working with those guys, I mean, like you said, they both could probably still suit up and play, you know. So they bring in that passion, they bring in that energy, and they just want you to come in and just, you know, fill in and just do your job, do your 1/8, you know. They not asking for nothing crazy, you know. They just want you to come in, do your job, you know, and add value to the team. That's really all they asking. So it's definitely a blessing playing for those guys because they bring the energy and the passion.
I wanted to talk about a couple of your defensive teammates. Mike Lee with a couple of pick sixes. Markel Wade was the other quick kickoff return for a touchdown. Talk about being a part of that where it's like, and we've talked to Coach Cisse about this, where, some teams might have one or two guys. Hey, we got to avoid number 4. Oh, hey, we got to avoid the Revis Island type thing. You know what I'm saying? Here, it's like, okay, cool. Go after Mike Lee. He'll have 2 interceptions. Go after you. He'll have an interception. Talk about being in a situation in a rotation where it doesn't matter who's on the field. Somebody's going to produce. Somebody's going to make a play. It doesn't matter.
No doubt. Yeah, definitely with this situation, it's next man up, you know. And like practicing all week, I was communicating with those guys, you know what I'm saying? I feel like we built some camaraderie this week, you know, like they definitely were welcoming. They were helping me a lot. Great practices all week, you know. So working with those guys, man, they made it able for me to fit in, you know, easier.
I want to ask you about that, actually. So I'm assuming you, fortunately or unfortunately, depending on how you look at it, I'm assuming that you probably ended up on teams, after training camp from time to time in a career. It seems to me this Albany bunch is really welcoming. What makes this group different in terms of you being a new guy and feeling like you can plug right in and ready to go?
So I feel like with this group, I mean, like I said, they were just very welcoming, you know. So it's like I came in. Sometimes you go to some teams, some guys might look at you like, "Who is this guy?"
Yeah,
you know
take my spot, et cetera, et cetera.
But it was never like that. It was just like, okay, we got a guy. He coming in. We know who he is because we played against him. We know he could possibly help our team. So it was just a smooth transition. So they just welcomed me in. Communication has been great. Everything has been going great, and I'm just thankful to be here.
Now, this team 10-0, undefeated regular season. Now we get to the second season. Talk about, getting a chance now to, okay, let's, we've got through the last one, ready for the playoffs start next week. We don't know who. It could be Billings, it could be Oregon, or it could be your former team, the Liberty. Just talk about getting ready for the playoffs and just, having these last 2 weeks and hopefully raising the trophy at the end.
So we know now it's playoff time. So we got to take it up another notch. Focus has to be there. We have to take everything up a notch. So we'll be ready for whoever we play. So whoever they want to bring over here, they're gonna have a tough game on their hands, regardless.
Absolutely. Kyle, we appreciate you coming on, and we look forward to talking to you for the next couple of weeks, and hopefully we can finish this off. Kyle Chandler with a touchdown tonight on a special teams play after a 98-12 win, and we will be right back after messages that you'll see right now. Welcome back to the next post-game show. Meeting him for the first time, being new to Albany, you can tell that he's going to fit right in and, take up a spot on Coach Hobbs' defense and just, make it happen.
I'm real impressed. It didn't surprise me anything that he said in terms of how welcoming these guys are. I think we've all been a part of enough teams to see that sometimes that isn't always the case.
Correct. Yeah.
So that's definitely a team mindset, and like I told him when we were walking down the hallway from the autograph session here, it looks like this was his 5th game.
That's kind of what I was saying. Like, he looks like he's been here the whole year with no problems. And then he signed our helmet. Our helmet here has more than 20 signatures from the Firebirds players and coaches. We are raffling that off. I guess that up in the Flock Support, they sold a decent amount of tickets tonight from what I was told for our raffle.
Yes, we have reached our goal.
We have reached our goal, and that money is going to go, all of it, to the Center for Disability Services, and the winner of the raffle is going to get that amazing helmet with more than 20 signatures for your 2025 Albany Firebirds.
Yeah, it's going to be they're 10-0 Albany Firebirds.
The 10-0 Albany Firebirds, can't forget that.
Yep.
And but if you guys, tickets are still available all the way up until next week. We're going to draw the raffle on the 21st.
Yeah, right here on the pregame show, but not
during the pregame show, which will be somewhere between 6:30 and 7 o'clock next week, and we'll raffle that off, and we'll let the winner know, and they'll be able to win this awesome helmet. If you can turn the helmet for me, if you look on the visor, you will see the most prominent signature on the helmet, which makes sense for if you know him. That makes sense. It's Zeke Rose has the helmet signature right on the front. If you're the winner of the raffle, $5 for tickets. If you're the winner of the raffle, you get that amazing helmet. So let's talk about tonight. At one point the score was 16-12. And, you're thinking, okay, maybe a little rust from the first couple of weeks being off with the double bye. Washington, I think, did a good job coming in, obviously having the cross-country trip. But for lack of a better word, I think the Firebirds got mad that it got to 16-12.
Yeah, and I feel like we've been saying this since I don't even know when. The Firebirds are a stinking physical team.
Absolutely.
I mean,
no
goodness.
And even maybe this is a bad thing to say, but even maybe too many. How many penalties did Harold Love get for unnecessary roughness?
Too many. I would say he probably earned 1 or 2, but certainly not 4.
Not 4. No. Yeah, I'm seeing a comment here. Tonight was definitely packed. I think tonight was probably the best attended Firebirds game. I think no sections had no fans.
No, it was great.
Every section had at least a couple of rows of fans in it. Yeah, I just thought that was tremendous.
No, it was huge. I mean, we go from one end to the arena to the other quite often, and there's been games in the past where you don't necessarily hear the crowd, but you couldn't miss the crowd. I mean, shoot, I walked down here shortly after halftime. They scored 2 touchdowns on 2 special teams on 2 consecutive kicks.
Back to back, yeah. And we'll get to all that, of course.
I'm like, man, I guess I can't walk away,
Right. You can't, they scored too fast for that. But let's, want to get started, kind of go over the scoring. There was a lot of it, but I think we can kind of go over that. Sam Casanova played a half. We figured that there might be, moving guys around, especially just, it's hard to do it with only 25 guys on the roster, but, you try to get reps for as many as you can in a game like this. Sam, had 3 passing touchdowns and a rushing touchdown. Dwayne Brown had 3 touchdown catches.
Again, I think he had 4 catches, 3 for touchdowns.
4 catches, 3 for touchdowns. And then Darian Townsend with 3 touchdowns also.
Yeah, that guy's slick, man. He
with a dirty bird basically a dirty bird after the one, and then he did a backflip after the other. I mean,
he's slippery, man. He's listen. Every the skill position player on this team can play anywhere, and every single week it's wow.
Mm-hmm. I did want to talk about one thing too that I saw in the beginning of the game, and I don't know where to put this, but maybe this is the right point for it. So during the introductions, they go through they have the fireworks going and the whole thing, and the flames are doing their thing, and guys come out. Zeke Rose comes out with a selfie stick, which I think is hilarious.
Yep.
When they introduced the offensive line, they all came out at the same time.
Yeah, they did that earlier this year too.
I think that's very interesting. They just signed Sean Brown, who's a veteran as well, like Kyle just talked about being a veteran. And I think he's a guy that, hey, let's try this idea out maybe, and like, hey, let's do this.
I was surprised that he played center tonight, Sean Brown.
He did, yeah.
That kind of took me a little bit off guard. I'm sure he's done it because obviously coach wouldn't have thrown him out there if he hadn't. But I seem to remember him more as a tackle or a tight end. But
well, they've done. I mean, we even talked about that when we had Colby Bird, who also had a touchdown tonight. We'll talk about that.
Yeah, I caught up with him in the training room, and he's like, "Man, I'm sore." It's like it's probably your spiking arm that's sore.
And I talked to his dad, and we're gonna give his dad. Yeah. We're getting his dad the picture of the spike. Yep. But between him and Josh Zacher, and we talked to those guys a few weeks ago. Yep. They kind of talked about the versatility. Everybody's got to kind of know it all, and so that way, if you need to go somewhere. And I'm sure Sean is no different. Hey, I need you center. Okay, coach, no problem. Throw me in there.
Yeah.
So I thought that was just interesting. But to start tonight, for Washington or Albany won the toss, elected to defer to the second half. They on the first possession they go, 4 downs and out.
Yeah. I think quarterback went 0 for 4.
Yep. And then they kind of did the drop kick away, and then literally on the first play, Sam to DB3, 40 yards. And they run that play most of the games. To start.
Coach Ware is a fantastic coach. You would think that these opposing teams might kind of see that coming because that's like the third or fourth time it ran at the first play of the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they just have one-on-one, and not many DBs in this league are going to beat DB3. So you got to make a plan if you're going to do that. After that, again, special teams, a safety on the kickoff. So Henry kicks it up there, and the kid misplays it, and he has to fall on it in the end zone, and they tackle him for a safety to make it 9-0. I think it was another 3-and-out or maybe a 4-and-out. And then the first play immediately to Townsend for 25 yards and a 16-0 lead within 5 minutes. So, we've seen it this year. They can take a bunch of time for a drive if they want, if they're slowing things down, if they're trying to be methodical, and they can just score in 2 seconds and just put it down your throat.
Coach Ware in the post-game press conference said they still haven't played a perfect game. And I tend to agree with him because realistically, I still don't think they've completely dipped into their bag of tricks yet offensively. I really don't because I think there's a lot of good football left in this team, honestly.
Well, they put it to him tonight, so we'll have to see how that goes. But I think you're right. I think that I think there's still some tricks up the sleeve.
Oh, without a doubt,
for Coach Ware. So yeah, we get to 16. We get to 16-0. And then on the next drive, they get stopped on a third down, but then Harold gets one of his 4. Again, you're right. A couple of them maybe deserved. A couple of them I maybe agree. Excessive in terms of the referee.
Those sort of calls usually get made when offensive linemen are being dominated.
Yes, and that was definitely tonight.
It's more of attrition, right? Like the more you do it, the more likely you're going to get flagged. That guy, really had no opportunity to throw the ball more than maybe a half dozen times tonight.
No, he's running around. He's getting chased. There was one play where they got like 2 of them together. I think it was like DJ and Zeke, and they basically high-load him they basically met at the quarterback on one of those plays in the second half.
Yeah, there was a few times it was all 3 of them laying on him. You know, minus the linebackers weren't even involved. There's 3 guys on him. That usually doesn't happen.
Not at all. So after the personal foul, they kept the ball and scored on an 11-yard touchdown to make it 16-6. And then the next drive, the second play, Sam Casanova intercepted for only the 3rd time this year. And then on the next play, the kid returns it for 30 yards. And then the next play, their quarterback, Gatson, scores on a 5-yard touchdown. And it's 16-12 at that point. Yeah. And you're thinking, okay, let's knock the rust off, guys.
Yeah, we kind of talked about that going into it, on the pregame show. We kind of felt like, it sort of came to life. Halfway through the second quarter, it kind of evened out a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I think we kind of thought by the end or second half to the first half of the second quarter that things would kind of start to shake out. But they did. You have a stat that's pretty staggering in terms of unanswered points.
Yeah. So at that point, it's 16-12, and Washington didn't score again.
No.
Albany scored 82 straight points. I mean, yes, this is an offensive league, but boy, the defense was damn good.
Yeah, that's been a common theme. There's been a few games where the other team were able to keep up with them, but again, special teams can contribute like they are. If they're able to go up by more than two, 3 scores in a game, good luck catching them.
Yeah,
because things tend to they seem to play off each other. I mean, the offense obviously goes and scores on a first possession.
but it's that moment. It's the momentum, and then the momentum is not just offensive; it's defense, it's special teams. Everybody's getting it. So at that point, Albany gets the ball back. Short drive. Sam scores on a 1-yard touchdown run. Kind of bowls his way in there behind his offensive line. Yep. And then on ensuing possession, and they were having trouble with this all night. The quarterback fumbled a snap, and then on the next play, he's scrambling again, like having those defensive guys, all in his face. And Mike Lee returns his first of 2 interceptions for touchdowns to make it 30-12. I wanted to talk about Mike, obviously, statistics wise, like a great game, obviously, because he's, returning 2 interceptions for touchdowns. But I think tonight, there was one play, I think somewhere in the second quarter, maybe, where he's into coverage and it looks like he's going to be covering the motion receiver. And then they switch at the very last second and he goes into the outside receiver. And because it's within like a 2-yard box or whatever, I'm not sure what it's 5 yards in the outdoor game, but
I think it's 3.
Like a 3-yard box. And he just obliterates one of the receivers. And that's where the quarterback's going. And so at that point, he looks and he's like, oh no, my guy's been taken out. And then, snap the fingers, and Zeke and Harold and DJ and all the defensive guys are now basically on top of the quarterback. So it's just plays like that. It's not just the interceptions. It's how can I make an impact on every single play I'm out here? And Mike has done that consistently all year long.
Yeah, statistically, last handful of games, he hasn't really, showed up on the stat sheet. Of course, he had tackles, but in terms of turnovers and changing the game, defensively, he was the guy, in terms of turning the ball over. But, the guys up front obviously made it. He in a lot of ways, their quarterback looked like Sam Darnold, seeing ghosts.
Of course, the Bills guy talks about the Jets quarterback, a Jets quarterback like that.
Yeah.
Sam was playing for the Jets, I think, at that point. On the next possession, the Albany defense, holds after a couple of incomplete passes and another sack. I don't even know exactly how many sacks. I didn't go and count, but it's at least, had to be at least 5 or 6 or 7 like actual sacks, not counting just the plays where the kid's running for his life. So that possession started off with a sack between Jamal Hickbottom and Harold Love.
He had a really good game too, man. All those guys.
Jamal did too.
Drew Singleton had a big game.
Drew Singleton, yeah. Again, every single member of that defense, and Coach Cisse will talk about that. I interviewed him. That interview the backstage interviews will be on our Instagram page, The Nest, Albany Firebirds News, and we'll have that with Coach Cisse. But he talked about that. It's literally you can't stop anybody. You can't just say, hey, I'm going to focus on stopping Lee. Nope. Singleton will get you.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting to see what that back end looks like next week, because I don't know exactly what's up with Marcus Smith. I'm assuming it was just a game off.
It could be. If he's maybe if he's dinged up, maybe not enough to be like on the injured list or anything like that. But maybe it's just like, okay, hey, let's.
Did you see the play that Trey Wortham made to free up? I think it was Markel Wade on the touchdown in the end zone.
Yes.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
You can't teach that.
No, it's instinct.
Yeah.
It's all it is. Yeah. So speaking of Markel Wade, returns a kick for a touchdown. There was a flag on the play, but they picked it up.
Yeah, that was odd.
Yeah, there was a couple of weird calls.
I saw the replay. He stood in front of him. He didn't even engage with him, and they threw the flag.
And they threw the flag. So at least they did pick it up.
Yeah.
And so that made it 36-12 with 4:11 left in the half. And then, Henry Nell, who, to be honest, and I'm sure we'll get Instagram comments on this, didn't have his best game tonight. Really.
At times, I would say in the second half he got
better.
He got his groove back.
Mojo going. But he gets a deuce there, and that's a big thing too. Like, hey, I'm not having my best game, but working your way through it, contributing on those, obviously the kicks, like those perfect, as Kyle Chandler here just a few minutes ago talked about, right? Like, hey, kick me the bar ball. Boom, what does he do? So that made it 38-12. And then shortly thereafter, Mike Lee with his other pick six makes it 45-12. And at that point, the momentum is rolling and the Wolfpack can't get out of their own way. On the next possession, another sack. This one was the Drew Singleton where he sacked the quarterback. Kid lost it. There's a little scramble for it, but then he goes and actually recovers it. And on the next play, immediately casting over to Brown, 13 yards to make it 52-12. And that 16-12 lead was obliterated at that point.
Yeah, it'd be 98-12.
And ended up being that. Let's see. And then, so that was 52-12 at the half. And then Sam comes out. I didn't go through the full stats, but he had obviously a pretty good game. 4 total touchdowns. But Robert McCoy Jr. comes in the second half. And he ends up with 4 touchdown passes. Dwayne Brown, a 12-yard touchdown. Townsend, a 39-yard touchdown. And then the last touchdown, another one to Townsend for 14. But I want to focus, being a lineman, my heart grew 2 sizes like the Grinch. Colby Bird with a touchdown, 2-yard touchdown catch on the old tight end / tackle play.
Yeah.
I love that play because, if you don't run it and then it's like he just kind of like tiptoes basically out of there and catches the ball, spikes the ball hard enough where it goes up into the net, like if Henry would kick a deuce. And then he's on the same side as his dad. And literally he spikes the ball. He's going, with his teammates, and he realizes his dad's there, and he like hugs his dad.
That's great.
And everything. And I was talking to him because we were on that same side, and he was like, I'm so proud of my boy, and this and that. And then, we talk about that, and I mean, I know it's a little sappy and whatever, but it's like we talk about the family aspect of the Firebirds, and that kind of thing is what it's about. And so I thought that was a cool moment, and obviously for Colby to score a touchdown, a lineman to score a touchdown in a game like this.
Yeah, and I gotta say too, like watching it again, he was way wider than normally was. I'm really surprised that Washington didn't key on that, because he was a full body wider than he normally is.
Well, maybe at that point they're just like, we just want to get out of here at this point.
My goodness.
And then, as we kind of talked about, the two recoveries on the kicks, and that comes down to, I mean, obviously it's tough to be a returner when you have to try to figure out the bounces off the net, but at the same time, that's precision kicking by Henry Nell.
Yep.
And as Kyle said, watching these guys where it's like, you've got to run down there 100% and make that effort. Because without that effort, maybe, at that point, maybe the kid just grabs it and just, ducks. Maybe it's a safety, or they tackle him in the end zone, or it's just a touchback or whatever.
Well, that's the thing.
Just making that effort.
Like how important it is to be inside the 5 or inside the 10 is a huge difference, because, you don't have that full field,
Right.
So if you can get them inside the 5, that's really important. And the only way to do that is to hustle.
Mm-hmm. And that was obviously Kyle had the first one, and then Markel Wade, again with 2 special teams touchdowns tonight, one return, and then the fumble recovery as well.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see who they name special teams player of the week, because
it should be all Albany, but I will say Nashville did score 80 points. They won 80-18 over Corpus Christi tonight.
Yeah.
So they called it and of course it's because Hulk Hogan is real American beer. I don't have the sponsor on it, but they called it Hulkamania on the AF1 post.
Yeah, I saw that, and I jokingly sent a little video I made to a friend of ours at AF1 Fan Zone. It's like how Hulkamania is going here in Albany. It was one of those videos where he got lit up by Singleton. But yeah, anyway, it's just good fun.
Yeah. And so, and then the final, Henry Nell with the second deuce made it 98-12, and that ended up being the final. I'm almost running out of adjectives to talk about how amazing this team is. And they're firing on, if not 8 cylinders, at least 7.5.
I think if they do it the right way, you're going to see another elevation of the team the next 2 weeks.
I agree.
If it all goes like it's supposed to.
And we find out when would we find out? Is it tomorrow or later? I don't know. I don't remember seeing the schedule recently, so I'm not in my head, but
nothing's final until tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night. All right. So we'll find out tomorrow night who is coming, because like I said, it could be, Billings, it could be Oregon, the Lightning, or Salina coming back here again. And that game was an overtime thriller last time when we were here. So we'll see how that goes. Let's see. Anything else? Let me think. Yes. So next Saturday's game is scheduled for the 21st, 7:00. Again, to be determined, as we just said, for the opponent here at the MVP Arena. We will have a pregame show at 6:30 or thereabouts, and we'll talk about the playoff game, and we'll raffle off the helmet. So please, go on, our Venmo, buy some tickets. They're $5. It goes for a really great cause in the Center for Disability Services. These guys do amazing work in our community, and we want to, help them out with that. We will be having our Firebirds weekly show at some point. It's scheduled right now for Monday, but that may not happen because of other life things that is going on for us in our regular not podcast lives. But keep up, on Facebook, on Instagram, the Nest. We're on Facebook as well. Keep up on our social medias. We'll have what's going on and when we're doing it and what's up, because we love, you guys really support us and do a lot. You guys have been amazing, and we've gotten a lot of views and clicks and all the things that make this worth it, because you guys are watching us and letting us, giving us the opportunity to do this, for the audience. And we will see you next week. And for Chris Sipperly, my co-host, my name is Adam Samarov. And also for my production assistant, my beautiful wife, Cassandra, who is the technical wizard behind the camera. My name is Adam Samarov, and we will see you next week.
We bid you adieu.
Adieu, adieu. Baba Booey.